Good afternoon. I want to continue these talks on Jhana. Today I want to continue the talk on hindrances that from the place where I left over yesterday. I was talking about the hindrance of greed. I did not complete it, although I said so many things about that is being one of the most important subject. I said only very little about it, and there's much more to say. I'm not going to say everything even today. The desire is on the one hand a hindrance, on the other hand is a fetter. That is just like ignorance is one of the major roots of our repetition of birth and death in samsara. But when we try to practice, try to gain concentration, of course we cannot overcome it and destroy it completely, but we have to temporarily suspend it to proceed with the practice of jhana meditation. And in addition to those things that I have mentioned yesterday, today I want to mention the things that nourishes the root of desire. One is unmindful reflection. Unmindful reflection starts with distorted perception. Distorted perceptions are 4 types. One, they are given in our traditional Pali text. Asubhe subha sanya. Anicce nicca sanya. Anatte atta sanya. Dukkhe sukha sanya. These are the 4 Pali phrases used in Pali tradition to show how we have a distorted perception. This can be useful for our insight meditation as well as tranquility or concentration meditation, if we remember them. First is asubhe subha sanya, something which is not actually pleasant, or subha means really pleasant. Something which is not pleasant, we make it pleasant. To our perception, it appears to very pleasant. For example, you take a skeleton and put plastic, the rubber-like thing you children use, silicone, and all around it, or rubber itself, and put around it and make anything you want, any shape, any size, any color that you like, and put rubber like gloves, that same material, very thin, to make it look very pretty, beautiful. And it appears to be beautiful. Although inside there is, made of various type of things like skeleton, and either silicone or mud or something put, and plaster or something, to look plaster of Paris or something, and make it look beautiful. And every time you look at it, it's very attractive, beautiful. So, anything appears to be beautiful is actually like this. When you peel off take off the rubber cover, plastic cover, then you see that it is something very attractive. But that is how we look at things. We always see that it is beautiful. In reality, it is not so. Now, the beauty or ugly depends on our unmindful reflection. If we mindfully reflect, it is neither beautiful nor ugly. If we unmindfully reflect, it appears to be either beautiful or ugly. That is the beauty of mindful reflection. Mindful reflection shows us things exactly as they are, neither beautiful nor ugly. So, I think we mentioned in the past an example of hair on the head. Looks beautiful. And this is no offense to anybody. Just look at it realistically. So long as it is on the head, we can make it in a many different way to attract people. Isn't it? So we think it is beautiful. It is beautiful to look at. That is why we spend so much time, energy, money, making the cosmetic industry rich. Because there is a perception, belief that hair is beautiful. Isn't it? But when that hair, one of them falls into your bowl of soup, so only one. What do you do? Your own hair, you fell into your bowl of soup. You don't like to eat it. So where is the perception of beauty? Gone, disappeared. But if you learn to be mindful and reflect on the reality of hair, whether it is on the head or in the bowl of soup, it is the same. Hair. It doesn't change, or it only changes the place of staying. One time it was on the head, next time in the bowl of soup. When it is in the bowl of soup, it is ugly, unpleasant. When it is on the head, it is beautiful. This is what is called distorted perception. When you mindfully reflect, it doesn't matter where you remove it and put it away and eat your soup. Because you clean it and wash it and shampoo it. And well, it is not that dirty or infectious. You have cleaned it. And after cleaning, you comb it. And one hair will stay on the head. And when you bend down, it falls on your soup. Perfectly all right to remove it and put it away and eat your soup. But our perception, we have conditioned ourselves to believe that when it gets loose and falls on the food, it turns out to be instantly. It turns out to be ugly, unpleasant, repulsive. Your own hair, not somebody else's hair. So, this is unmindful reflection. of desire. When we mindfully reflect, desire is, you think that is beautiful, you are attached to it and so forth. When you mindfully reflect, it doesn't matter. You can remove it and eat. Then, that is called asubhe subha sanya. Then, anicca nicca sanya, something is impermanent, we think it is permanent. Our skin, our face, our teeth, and all these things are impermanent. But when at a certain point we think they are permanent, but certain other point we see those things that we thought permanent is impermanent, has changed. If we mindfully reflect, then we know whether we are young or old, our teeth, the skin, flesh, appearance, all change. Impermanent. That's why we are like this now. We were not like this when we were born. We were so different. Now we are so different. That is called nicca nicca sanya, not anicca nicca sanya. Anicca anicca sanya. So we have to understand something impermanent is impermanent. That is another way of looking at things, to reflect on things, to reduce our clinging, craving, desire. Especially when we meditate, we go to think like this. To get rid of this thing temporarily. If you can get rid of it permanently, that is the best. But if you cannot, at least temporarily, to put it away, we have to look at it realistically. Then, dukkha sukha sanya. Something is impermanent, is necessarily unsatisfactory, but we don't see that way. We think anything impermanent is permanent, anything impermanent also is, anything impermanent we don't see as impermanent, sees as permanent, and therefore we have the notion of satisfaction. It gives us permanent satisfaction. How can impermanent things can give us permanent satisfaction? It cannot. And the more difficult thing to overcome is anatte attasanya, the perception of non-self as self. That is the most difficult thing. We come to that later on. Anyway, so we learn to overcome this by cultivating the mindful reflection. Second is associating with wrong person. That is not associating with the right person or kalyana mitta. Kalyana mitta is wonderful friend. In Pali, kalyana mitta translated into English as good friend. The word good friend is not enough to describe this friend. We must say the best friend. Kalyana mitta is excellent friend. Good is not enough. When we have these three factors, in mindfulness reflection and having this good friend, we will be able to overcome our desire temporarily. And then, next thing we should do, we must talk to ourselves. Talking to ourselves is perfectly all right in order to overcome certain hindrances. We may not be able to overcome them permanently, but at least temporarily. We must talk to ourselves, this thing is impermanent. If I cling to this, I will end up in pain. Why? Because when we think it is permanent and cling to it, when it disappears, we end up in frustration because we were holding on to it, thinking that it is permanent. Then it disappears, then we will be unhappy. I cannot hold on to it forever. This is how we have to talk to ourselves. I have no way to control it. This desire is impermanent too. The object we cling to is impermanent, and the desire that arises depending on the object also is impermanent. The satisfaction I get from this is changing and impermanent. If I try to stop that change, I will end up with more pain and suffering than I have now. When I cannot control it and make it stay the same all the time, giving me the same pleasure all the time, I will wind up frustrated and disappointed. I am subject to change. This thing I love is also subject to change. If I become immersed in this, I will lose my mindfulness. That is demeaning. I have struggled long and hard to achieve this mindfulness, and life is too short. I have already enjoyed so many things in my life. None of them has ever given me permanent satisfaction, and this won't either. Why should I sacrifice this precious moment for the sake of this superficial, temporary satisfaction of this sensation or sensual pleasures? I am going to just stop thinking about this. It is a trap, a waste of time. So this is how we have to talk to ourselves, to push it aside temporarily, our greed or attachment or clinging, craving as it arises. Then, next thing we should do to overcome this particular hindrance is to go through the understanding of the Noble Eightfold Path, step by step. And that is a long process. However, that also is very important thing. So I mentioned so far sleepiness and drowsiness, and restlessness and worry, desire, and there are two more things to mention among hindrances. That is doubt and ill will. Doubt, I mentioned, are two types. One is emotional doubt. Emotional doubt arises when the thought arises in our mind regarding the Buddha and the Sangha. Remember, we have three refuges, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. When we think of the Buddha and Sangha, emotional doubt can arise, like is Buddha really enlightened? Is it not possible that he is deluded? Is it not possible that he was crazy to give up his throne, kingdom, and run away in search of something that is just a dream. Perhaps it is possible. This kind of doubt can arise in our mind. Secondly, the whole community of Sangha that followed him, couldn't they be deluded and followed him blindly? And this kind of doubt can arise in our mind. That is called emotional doubt. In order to overcome that kind of doubt, what should we do? We have to think of the qualities of the Buddha. To think of the qualities of the Buddha, we have to know the qualities. They are spread all over his teaching. His compassion, his wisdom, his understanding, his approach, the way he taught the Dhamma, and without any reservation, he openly shared his knowledge with others, and without any reservation, he is the one who said, when you support with compassion and generosity, you support anybody you like. He did not say you support only me and my community. He said you support anything, anybody you like. Because the generosity has no limit and it has no label. When we practice metta, there is no limit, no label. There is no Buddhist metta, Hindu metta, Jewish metta, Christian metta, Hindu metta, Muslim metta, no like that. It is metta, loving friendliness for all living beings. Who can give this kind of teaching except a one who has attained full enlightenment? Similarly, practicing generosity. We must remember these things. We must remember when Upali, one of the disciples of Jhana, became Buddha's follower, came to have a discussion with the Buddha. At the end of the discussion, he declared, Venerable Sir, at the very first simile you gave me, made me convinced that we are fully enlightened, therefore I want to follow you. And please accept me as your follower. Then he said, I have been following so and so, I never heard this sort of things, and I will go home. Then Buddha said, when he said that he wanted to follow him, Buddha said, you, Upali, has been a very famous person, known to everybody for your intelligence, your reputation, and your leadership in the community. A person like you should not make a quick decision like this. You go home and think. Then Upali said, Venerable Sir, I never heard of these kind of things. If I went to another tradition and said that I wanted to become their follower, they would have taken me into the street in a procession, telling the whole world that so and so, such and such a prominent leader, intelligent person, rich person became our follower. He gave up the Buddha, came to us. But you asked me to go home and think. For this reason, I want to declare myself for the second time that I want to be your follower. Then he said, I go home and stop all my support to other teachers whom I had been supporting all along. Then Buddha said to Pali, how can you do that? They were depending on you for their livelihood all these years. When you stop your support to them, how are they going to live? Therefore, don't stop your support to them. You must continue your support. Then Upali said, Venerable Sir, I never heard of this thing. All alone I heard that people say that you ask people to give everything to you and your disciples. Now you are telling me, I hear with my own ears, asking me to go and continue my support to them. For this reason, I take refuge in you for the third time. He took refuge 3 times in the Buddha for saying this wonderful, noble, very generous thing. Who can say that? Many religious leaders, they say, give to our religion, our leaders, support our temple, don't support them, they are not good. But here, Buddha says this. Whenever we think of these things, we can see how supremely pure and clean his heart is, his mind is. Because he taught us generosity is the inner born quality of all living beings. He wanted to promote it. And he said, if you want to go to heaven, you have to do only 3 things. What are the 3 things? Satchang bhane, nakujjaya, dajjas pimpiyachito, ehite hititane gacche devana santike. Satchang bhane, speak the truth. Nakujjaya, don't get angry. Dajjas pimpiyachito, give whatever you can when asked to anybody who asked. Doing these 3 things, you can go to heaven. So anybody can go to heaven. You don't have to be a Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Hindu. Anybody, even without a religion, you can practice these 3 things and go to heaven. And Buddha said that. So, this is the kind of things he taught. And therefore, whatever doubt arises in our mind, emotional doubt regarding the Buddha, when we think of these things, remember these things, our doubt slowly fades away, disappears, and we build up our confidence, trust in the Buddha's open, clear, pure, noble wisdom and compassion. And the Sangha, just purely because of this, they followed the Buddha and became his disciples. And therefore, I also want to be his follower, become his disciple. So we get rid of that kind of doubt, emotional doubt, by thinking of the Buddha and Dhamma, Sangha's qualities. There are 9 qualities of the Buddha and 9 qualities of the 8 qualities of the Sangha and 6 qualities of the Dhamma. Now, this is for emotional doubt. We think of the Buddha and the Sangha. What about the skeptical doubt that I mentioned yesterday? Skeptical doubt is the almost incurable doubt, incurable skepticism. How can we temporarily get rid of that? Thinking of the qualities of the Dhamma. Skeptical doubt is regarding the Dhamma. Emotional doubt is regarding the Buddha and Sangha. These are persons, individuals But the Dhamma is impersonal, universal truth. Skeptics are more philosophers. Philosophers don't go after a person. They go after ideas, theories, which are impersonal, inanimate. So, skeptics will have doubt about the things that the Buddha taught. They can think, they disbelieve the Dhamma. And they have this kind of beliefs. There is something called karma. Can there be something called karma? What does it mean? So you may doubt about it, because you don't know what it is. You have not spent enough time to understand the karma. Therefore you say, it is just mere speculative thinking. And the karmic results, if there is no karma, how can there be karmic results? You don't believe in that. And whenever there is a karma, there also has to be karmic results called rebirth. Can there be a rebirth? Is it not some kind of primitive thought? That is another doubt. So people ask, has anybody taken rebirth somewhere, come back and told us that so and so, that I was so and so, now I am here, I was taken rebirth, before I was like that, now I am such and such. Has anybody come and told us? So people say, therefore, I have never met anybody. The fact that somebody has not met someone like that doesn't prove that there is no rebirth. Because this person has not met somebody like that, but there have been many other people who have met somebody like that, who have come back and told them that there was a rebirth. Anyway, the person who has not met somebody might say that I have not any proof to believe in that. So that is another disbelief. So, they also can say, ask, was I in the past? What did I become? What will I be in the future? Will I ever exist in the future? What shall I become in the future? Do I even really exist now? What am I? Who am I? How am I? Where does this being come from? Where will it go after death? These kind of doubts can arise. These are all regarding the Dhamma. And also doubts like, this just waste of time, this meditation and so forth, it doesn't do any good. But regarding these things, you don't need any particular answer. You can set aside and you can build up your confidence in the experience you gain right now. When you are practicing meditation, you definitely gain some experience, some results. That alone is enough for you to stop these skeptical doubts. When you practice metta, for example, very honestly, sincerely, you can see the results. When you calm your mind, you can see the results. When you relax, you can see the results. When you don't get agitated, excited, and remain peaceful, you can see the results. These results, when you gain concentration, You can see the results. And these results themselves are enough for you to not to think about all these skeptical questions, doubts. And therefore, that is the way of measuring the results of meditation. People ask, how do I know whether I have made progress in meditation or not? I have been meditating for so many years, but I don't know whether I make any progress or not. This question also can arise. How do you know whether you have made progress or not? You can use your own current experience and compare it with the previous experience. In the past you used to get angry very often. Now you are not getting angry so infrequently, so frequently. You are getting angry very seldom. In the past you get upset, you became irritated by any little thing. Now you don't get irritated that much. In the past you are impatient. Now you are more patient. In the past your understanding of things is not very good, very clear. Now you understand things better. In the past you cannot relate to people easily. Now you can relate to people very easily. In the past your communication was violent. Now you have NVC, non-violent communication. So when you compare your current experience with the past experiences, you can see that you have made progress. In the past you could not sleep at all. Now you can sleep well. In the past you had a lot of nightmares. Now you don't have nightmares. And so forth. You can always gauge the results by comparing your present experience with the past. So that is enough for us to get rid of this kind of skeptical doubt regarding the Dhamma. All this Buddha has taught us to see the results. Now, what is left out of 5 hindrances? I mentioned sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry, greed, and then doubt, and last is anger. I put them in this order for a particular purpose. The order is not mentioned, the list is not mentioned in this order. The list is mentioned as Kamaraga, Vyapada, Thinamidda, Uddhacha, Kukucha, Vichikiccha. That means first, number 1 is greed, number 2 is hatred, number 3 is doubt, number 4 sleeplessness and drowsiness, number 5 is doubt. Yes, greed, hatred, then restlessness and worry, and sleepiness and drowsiness, and doubt. These are the way it is listed. But I changed the order and put the anger or hatred as last on the list. Why is that? We are practicing Jhana. We want to practice Jhana. When we practice Jhana, one of the things that helps us to gain Jhana is metta, loving friendliness, the opposite of ill will, anger. Now, when our will is ill, we call it ill will. Right? When the will is good, we call this goodwill. When it is ill, sick, we have to treat it and take care of it. So there are many, many things we have to do to get rid of ill will. In fact, this is one of the very difficult hindrance to overcome, because any moment, any time, any tiny little thing can irritate us. During meditation, while meditating, somebody scratch, it can get irritated. Somebody sneeze, you can get irritated. Somebody cough, you can get irritated. Somebody move the cushion, can get irritated. Any tiny little thing can irritate you. And therefore, our senses are so sensitive. And therefore, as long as these sort of little things irritate us, it is difficult for us to gain concentration. And when mind is wandering here and there, we get irritated, upset. I'm trying so hard, a dog is barking, we get upset, disappointed, irritated, angry. A child cries, a vehicle honks the horn, we get upset, irritated. And so forth and so on. Any tiny little thing can make us upset. And therefore, this particular hindrance is the last thing to overcome in order to gain concentration, because other things we can relatively easily subside, reduce, but this one stays on. So, there are many things to do to overcome ill will. As I said, when the will is ill, we have to get rid of it in order to proceed with the practice. The first thing is we must recognize it, aware of the illness of our will. That is, mind is not very healthy at that time. The temporary ill health. Secondly, we feel the strength of anger, ill will. Sometimes it is just simple, ordinary irritation. If you do not take care of it, then it turns into anger, and then it turns into grudge and hatred and so forth. When something repeatedly happening, irritation repeatedly happening, then that irritation can become a source of anger. So at the very moment when we get irritated, we just take care of it. That is the easy to nip in the bud. But if we don't do it and allow it and becomes simply complacent, then it grows, mature, because we are not mindful of it. As I mentioned, mindful reflection is the most important, powerful thing to weaken any hindrance. Then unmindful reflection is the way to nourish the root of anger. When anger arises, we are like patients. When we are patient, we have to see professionals to get rid of our sickness. And so, one thing we should do, also we take precautions not always to associate with people who are angry. Friends, only when anger arises we cannot get rid of it right there, but we have to think of it before we get angry. Because when we get angry it is difficult to overcome, and therefore we have to prepare our mind thinking about it before we get angry. Anger arises not only while sitting on the cushion. Anger arises when we are engaged in activities, meeting with people, and doing various things, anger can arise. Those are the moments we have to train the mind and to see when we associate with people, to see whether this person is irritating me, making me angry, and I try not to get engaged in conversation, discussions and so forth. This is actually where real non-violent communication makes sense. That means when we talk, we have to be very careful, mindful, not to say things to irritate ourselves or irritate others. Even though it is true, we have to say it in a very tactful, skillful, mindful way, so that it would not trigger anger in other person and in us. So wise consideration, wise reflection in any situation is very important. And also we should not play interdependent role. For example, when somebody is angry, it becomes like infectious. We also get angry. It's very easy when somebody does something with anger, says something with anger, for us to get angry. Very easy. But that is the very important moment to remember to remain calm, relaxed, peaceful, and listen. One day Buddha and his disciples were walking, and two other individuals of another tradition were following the Buddha and his disciples, and the teacher of the other tradition was always criticizing the Buddha, using all kind of wrong accusations, but his disciple was defending the Buddha. And Venerable Ananda heard this conversation and reported to the Buddha. And that time Buddha said, Ananda, if you hear somebody insulting, accusing the Buddha, don't get upset. Don't support it. But just listen mindfully. And see whether the person tells the truth or not. If the person is falsely accusing the Buddha, if you get upset, angry, you cannot rebut, cannot respond in a rational way. Therefore you must listen very carefully without getting upset. And then, if the accusation is false, you can tell Mr. or Mrs., what you say is not true. Buddha is not such and such. This is the truth. Perhaps you have not heard the truth. You must have got this information from the third hand or fourth hand. But the reality is this. Without getting upset, with calm, relaxed state of mind, you must respond. That advice is good even to this 21st century. Not only for the 6th century BC, but even the 21st century now, that advice is wonderful. This is what we call non-violent communication. You don't get upset, don't be angry. When you hear accusation, even against you or against somebody, we got to listen very carefully, patiently, and then respond rationally, mindfully. If we train like that every day, when we come to meditation becomes very easy. Because we have already conditioned ourselves, trained ourselves to remain calm, relaxed, peaceful, to look at whatever is happening as it is happening without getting upset. Next thing we have to do is to avoid such situation, do some physical exercise. Physical exercise also is very good for general health, as well as good physical health, to make your blood circulation go very smoothly. Mental exercise is called effort, right effort. So using right effort to overcome this particular hindrance called anger is very strongly recommended by the Buddha. This is what is called make effort to overcome all the arrogant, unwholesome mental states. As I mentioned, there are many other methods to overcome them. This is one of them. And then have a conversation with mindfulness. And then after all these things, when it happens during conversations, if anger arises, you stop, take few deep breaths. I think that's very good. Count your breath from 1 to 10, 10 to 1, and it takes 4 minutes. You know, when you count from 1 to 10, 10 to 1, 1 to 8, 1 to 9, 9 to 1, you look at your watch, it takes 4 minutes. 4 minutes is plenty of time. When you are upset, angry and so forth, to take deep breath and count. And during that time, your very strong anger slowly fades away. When we train our mind like this, when we are not on the cushion, when we come to meditation, that experience, that training, that conditioning helps us again during meditation, when you have some irritation. So to calm yourself, to relax, do that. And also, periodically, you may consult your selected, chosen, excellent friend. And also determine to be an excellent friend to somebody else. You know, these two sides is very important. One is to select an excellent friend to consult, and then determine to be an excellent friend to somebody else. When you do that, you determine, my excellent friend gave me such and such an advice, I also must learn to give such advice to another person. So this has a very powerful effect, ripple effect. What does the excellent friend do? When you are upset, angry, disappointed, and go and complain to your excellent friend against someone who made you angry, upset and so forth, excellent friend would not put fuel to fire, saying, hey, you are right, he's wrong, he did such and such thing, he deserves your punishment, and do such and such, beat him up and hurt him, do something to make him feel that you are angry and so forth. That person would not encourage you to retaliate. That person rather would tell you, it would not cite the other person, but the person will tell you to be calm, relaxed, peaceful, and tell, perhaps you may not know, that person may have a problem. That person's health may not be good. That person may have had some fight with somebody, may have lost the job, may have lost money, may have a problem with the children, with wife or husband, with relatives, and relatives' health may not be good, so forth and so on. You can find that excellent friend will find all kind of reasons to give you to calm yourself, to settle your mind, to think very rationally. To excuse that person for doing what the person has done. I have a very little sort of a silly story to tell you of a monk. He was very old and he always needed somebody to take care of him. And there were 3 or 4 temple boys. This monk would, perhaps he need to go to bathroom and he needs some help to go to bathroom. And he would call one of the boys, say, I don't know their name, say boy X. And he would call several times. This boy doesn't show up. He's a teenager. He's just, doing his business. He doesn't care very much. He would not show up. Then this monk says, maybe he must have gone to bring water to wash the altar in the shrine room. So he excused this boy and called the other boy. And he also doesn't show up. Then he would say, he may be plucking flowers to offer to the Buddha image. And he excuses this boy. And calls the next boy. And he doesn't show up. Then he accuses him also, giving some reason. He may be cooking breakfast. So he excuses. He called all the 4 boys and he also needs some help. He was very impatient. It is very painful, difficult for him to move around. But he was such a wonderful monk that he gives excuses to all these 4 boys and bear up his own pain without ever getting angry. When these boys come one after another, sometimes they find him in a very painful situation and they feel very guilty and they all help him. And even then, even at that time, he would not ask, he asked them, what have you been doing? Why didn't you come when I called? Where were you? He would never ask those questions. He simply accepted their help and finished the job. When we are in a difficult situation, this kind of training definitely help us enormously, not only during meditation, but any other time. And therefore this is not a simple training, not a joke. This is a very important training in our meditation practice. And when we try to attain jhana, this kind of training would definitely help us to accelerate the attainment very easily. And I continue this talk tomorrow, finishing up and launching onto jhana itself. Whole preparation. Now each point I mentioned is very important to remember when we try to practice jhana, because when we know what to do, when we try to practice jhana, then it becomes very easy. Otherwise we will struggle, just vane andha gajoviya in Pali. Just like the blind elephant, stumbling over every tree in the forest. Blindly we are trying to find out the solution to our problems if we do not know the solutions. That is why I put all the cards in front of you for you to use. And tomorrow I will get into this. Continue the talk.